Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Today, we're going to be going over how to complete our timesheet. So I went ahead and opened the timesheet so that I could edit it on my browser. And so that's why you see it this way. As you can see, there's a few things that are filled out, such as the location. If it's not filled out, you can go ahead and put down counseling, as well as your supervisor's name. Ricky's name should be on here as well. And there are other things that are not filled out, but some of these you don't have to worry about. So starting off with your name, we want to make sure that we know whose timesheet or whoever is processing this knows who it belongs to. So you go ahead and type in your name. And then we also, our payroll ID, you can talk to Ricky about it, or you can also leave it blank. Your ID number you should have, so you can put this down. This will be a second form of identifying you to make sure that your name and ID number align and we know who. And when processing, they know who the timesheet belongs to. So I'm just going to put in a random ID number. And then one of the other pieces that is very important is the pay period. So at ECC, when you're filling out your timesheet, it's not going to be for the full month from the 1st to the 30th. It's actually going to be starting from the 20th of the month before to the 19th of the month that you're submitting the timesheet for. So for example, today is June 18th. So if we were filling it out for June 1, I would be late because this is due, typically timesheets are due June 15th, just to make sure there's enough time to process them. So we'll ignore the fact that it'll be late. But if we were processing it for June, what we would do is for the month, it would be the month before. So that means May. I would erase the month and I would erase the month and write down May. And for the following month, it would be from May 20th to June 19th. Keep in mind that you may still work after June 15th, which is when you're completing your timesheet, since we do submit our timesheets by June 15th, but they do go over until the June 19th. You can just base it on your schedule to make sure that you also get paid for that time all the way until the pay period ends. So after that, make sure that you're also doing the same name change for the Excel sheet down here. So go ahead and change it and write in May and June. And then, okay. And then after that, we'll go ahead and fill in the dates. Typically, what I like to do is to open my calendar, and if there's any changes, I do like to complete this as I'm working, because we know that sometimes things happen, like you have to take time off for some reason, or maybe there's events that are taking place, so you may have to shift your hours. So if you want to make sure that everything is accurate and you don't forget things that may have happened, especially since we do submit it from the month before to the pay period ending on the 19th, you want to make sure that it's accurate and you're not missing any hours. So because of that, I do try to complete it as I'm working. So at the end of the week, fill in the hours that I worked. And that does help when submitting the timesheet, because once it comes time to do so, it's basically almost done. So we'll do an example of a week, right? So if we start off with, let's say, June 6th to June 10th, and I work Mondays and Wednesdays from 9 a.m. to 5, then I would go into the 6th, type in 9 a.m. And make sure I'm also accounting for my lunch. So typically I'll take my lunch somewhere around 1 p.m. And then make sure, as you saw, I didn't put in the capital. So you want to make sure you put in capital so that it actually tallies the correct amount of hours. Then I'll put in when I came back from my lunch. So my lunch is a 1-hour lunch and from 2 to 5 p.m. And there we go. It shows that I worked 5 hours. And if that was my same schedule for Wednesday, typically the Excel sheet allows you to copy and paste. So I would copy there. And I just realized I actually put the wrong time. I was supposed to put 5 p.m., not 3 p.m. There we go. That's more accurate. 9 a.m. Oops. And let's fix this. This should be 2 p.m. As I mentioned, you can typically copy and paste. So there it is. And this gets tallied. Make sure this is correct. And then it should also tally the total hours down here. Once that's all done and you already submitted all of your hours that you worked, then you would go ahead and go to File, Save As, and make sure you save it as, I do two things. You can either save it this way, or sometimes what I find easier is to print it. So I will print it into a, and then I will go in and then hit print. And then it'll look like this. Yes, it looks a little weird because it doesn't have the Excel boxes, but it's still going to show the number of hours you worked on that day, and then it's still going to total the hours. So I usually save it as a print it as the PDF, hit print, and then I try to save it as, oops, I try to save it as my last name, first name, and then I'll just for my own reminder and also to make it easier when submitting it, I go ahead and write down the month that I'm submitting it for. So that's what I would do. And then I'll write down just so that I know that this is the test. I'll go ahead and write test here and hit save. And I'm just going to save it onto my desktop so I remember. And then once that is done, we'll go ahead and go to our submission form. So this is the second step. You'll go ahead and type in your name, fill in all of the information. You could put any email that you want. Just so that I have the records within my ECC email, I usually use my ECC email. But if you want to put it down on your personal email, you can do that too. And then remember, even though we did May 19th to June 20th, you're going to do it during that, where that last day falls, or sorry, May 20th to June 19th, we're going to do it where that last day falls, which is June. So this is a June timesheet. And then the year is 2022. Then you mark off whether you are an equity and retention advisor or a success coach. And we're going to choose the file. So this is why I have a special folder. I didn't put it there right now, but I do have a special folder where I save it so that I know exactly where they are. But right now I just put it in my desktop. So we'll go ahead and find test. Here it is. And we go ahead and submit. I'm not going to submit it now because it's a test, but that's essentially how you go about submitting your timesheet. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Ricky or any of the advisors or success coaches, and we would be happy to help. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.